Hey everyone, welcome back to the Third Hour podcast where we talk about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I'm so excited to introduce our guest today. This is Shima Baughman. You've probably seen her online. She's an LDS content creator.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Iran. I moved to the U.S. when I was 7. We stayed in the U.S. partly because we joined the church through really miraculous circumstances. So we joined the church and then ended up in upstate New York. That's where I grew up. Went to law school. I went to BYU. Then went to BYU Law School. Became a law professor. 6 years later. And then after being a law professor for a while, I kind of decided I needed to do more to build the kingdom. And that's what brought me to social media.
How old were you when you joined the church?
So I was 7.
Okay.
I came, and it's really kind of a miraculous story, but my dad was working at UCLA, and there was a nurse there who had joined the church, and she was also from Iran, and she had converted. And she had this prompting to talk to my dad about the church, and she kind of dismissed it a few times. She was kind of like, oh, just like, he's Muslim. Like, I can't talk to him.
And they worked together?
They worked together. She was a nurse, and he was a neurosurgeon doing a year of research at UCLA from Iran. And so then she had the same prompting again, like, go talk to him about the church. And she was like, no, he's going to get killed if he goes back. Like, I know he's going back. And anyway, the third time she describes it, like, he was at a water fountain. She remembers seeing him there. It was like so significant to her. And she just like, I have to go. And she went up to him, and luckily it was around Christmas. And she's like, would you and your family want to come to my Christmas party? And so she tells him that. And of course, my dad says, yes, we're immigrants. We have no friends. We just, we're kind of like loving America really, truly, because we had left during the war. So it was the Iran-Iraq war. There's bombing. It's a horrible situation. So the fact that we even got out when we did was miraculous. So many different miracles. But then, yeah, we joined the church, and my mom is like, I'm not going back. They'll kill me. Which they would have, because she converted from Islam to Christianity. I should not be here, right?
Story.
It's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to hear just about like your experience as an immigrant and like coming to BYU.
Well, so it was, I have to admit, a culture shock coming to BYU from New York. And I knew I wanted to go to BYU ever since I was in high school. I was like, this is where I want to go. I want to be with members of my faith. I want to have to deal with the pressure of drinking and all the stuff that you deal with when you're not kind of surrounded by people that have the same values. Everyone's blonde, and I'm like the only brunette around.
Right? The only person of color.
The only person of color, yes. The only brown person, the only brown-haired person. Even amongst my friends, it's like, oh, like once in a while when there's a couple brunettes in the room, we're just like, oh, look at us. Look, how are we all brunettes in this? But what really struck me was how nice everyone was. I mean, just the smiles and kindness, like, just that really struck me, and I loved it. And so once I got past the initial shock of like, wow, like everyone knows how to do makeup. And a girl in my hall was a beauty queen, like one of the, she had won some pageants, and I had no idea about pageants. So just learning all these things, I'm like, wow, this culture is so interesting.
But like, tell me what got you started creating LDS content.
Yeah, so I had been a criminal law professor, and part of it is because, I didn't mention this, but one of the miracles that brought us to the church and brought us out of Iran is my mom was a political prisoner in Iran. And one of the things she did was advocate for freedom of religion and freedom of speech and democracy. And they put her in prison for that. And so when we come to America, I know, it's crazy. When we come to America, it's like this freedom that she has to choose a religion was huge for her. And also her experience being incarcerated unfairly and being treated unfairly by the government, that all stuck with me. And so as I considered, what kind of law to go into, I always have been drawn to criminal law. So all of this time I've been doing criminal defense. And that's how I felt like I was building the kingdom. And I started praying. I thought, Heavenly Father, like, it seems as if the second coming is getting closer. It always is getting closer, but it felt like it's getting acutely closer. And so I started praying, like, what can I do to build the kingdom better? Then BYU calls, like a year and a half later, and I'm kind of like, that's weird. And they're like, would you consider coming back to teach at BYU? But because of my prayers, I was kind of like, I need to consider this. I need to consider whether this is part of building the kingdom. What ended up happening is through my research at BYU and this kind of time and thinking about this new job opportunity, I started to think I wanted to start a center for religion. As I'd been studying criminal justice now for 12, 15 years, I started seeing some of the most hopeful solutions were those where people found faith, right? So people found faith and got off drugs. People found faith and left a life of crime. And that was just the true change that they needed. Anyway, when this opportunity opened up at the Wheatley Institute, I thought, okay, I can help show the benefits of religion, do public education about religion, show people what gets me excited about religion and my faith. And so as I accepted this position at the Wheatley Institute, then I felt this, like, I need to be on social media. And frankly, Mimi, I was one of those, and I don't know if you've ever been this way, probably not. I was one of these people who was so proud that I wasn't on social media. I was
yeah.
I'm not on Instagram. Everyone else is, but I don't waste my time. I just felt good about me not wasting my time on it. To think about getting on social media and bearing my testimony openly, it was really scary. But I had the prompting so many times, like one of those, where you get the prompting again and again, and you're like, okay, I'll do it. After, like 5 or 6 times that time.
Yeah.
But then I had this prompting, like, I should get on TikTok and start making these videos about how God loves you and Jesus Christ. And honestly, like, as scary as it was, like, I knew I was doing the right thing, because as TikTok sends this out, they're sending it out to 200 people. And even if you get one person that says, like, I needed to hear that today, like, thank you. Or, even just likes it. It's like, that they needed to hear that, and you're God's voice for them that day.
And I think as LDS creators, we kind of know in the back of our head, like, this is never going to go viral the way that a lot of the worldly, like, not even worldly, but just like normal content will. And it's like, we've accepted that, and that's not the point of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes we get comments that are like, oh, this should have way more views. And I'm like, I mean, that'd be great. But if we're reaching the people that we need to, we kind of accept that. And that's who we're trying to reach.
That's right.
So
that's the thing that gets me to keep posting videos. It's like, it's for that one person.
I live in Utah and have been a member my whole life. I truly do believe that Heavenly Father is real and the gospel is true, but I just can't stop hiding the fact that I'm a member. I live in Salt Lake City, and there's a big stigma in my group about being a member. Whenever people bring up the church, I brush it off and hide it. I'm afraid people will completely disregard me because I'm a member, because I see how they have done it with other people. I've recently realized I don't want to be friends with these people anymore because of how I act when I'm around them. But going forward, as I meet new people, how do I stop being scared of telling the truth about my beliefs?
I love the vulnerability of that and the honesty. Honestly, what I would say is, if you're afraid to admit that you're a member of the church, you're in good company. Think about Peter.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Think about Peter. I mean, he was a disciple of Jesus Christ. He saw him bring a man back from the dead after 4 days being dead. Saw countless miracles, feeding of the 5,000. He was his head disciple. And he denied Jesus Christ 3 times after all of that. Right? And what I think is so powerful of his story, you think of Peter, and, sometimes we judge Peter for that. But we all relate to that too at some level, right? I mean, it's scary when the mob is there just judging you, and they're not accepting of you, and they're calling you bad names, and not understanding your faith. But then I think of how Christ treats Peter, and when he's resurrected, it's not like, Peter, remember how you denied me, right? There's none of that.
Right.
All it is like, Peter, do you love me? Feed my sheep. I mean, that's what he famously says to Peter, and then Peter's transformed, right? And once Jesus Christ loves him and accepts him despite his worries and despite him not representing the church well at those times that he didn't, he lets him become the president of the church. He runs the church. He has the keys to the priesthood, and then he goes and builds like the greatest church you could ever imagine, right? Converts millions of people. What I would focus on, it seems like this person is doing that. It's like, just trying to love and trying to be around people that might make them feel good and love them, right? It's like, if people aren't accepting you for your faith, maybe there's a situation there where, you want to be around people who accept everybody for whatever their faith is.
Right.
And I think, I just think of Christ's example of loving, and I think that's what we do, right? It's, if you're afraid to talk about Jesus Christ, for instance, right now, that's okay. Just love like he did.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yes.
Just love like he did. Do what he would do. And that's a better way than even just kind of preaching to people. We know that, right? Love first. So maybe you're in the phase of love with your friends, and you don't really need to talk about faith. If they ask you, you can say, hey, I'm a member of this church. If you want to come with me, great. But like, show them love. Like, don't gossip, right? Don't talk badly about people. Don't criticize. Like, try to be there for them in those hard times. That's what you need to do. I mean, I don't think everyone needs to be a missionary right away. It might not be comfortable with a certain group.
Oh my gosh, no. And I love your advice. It comes from a place of love yourself, like, and not shaming this person, because you're right. Like, we've all been there, and it takes practice. And I feel like it is that uncomfortability of like, I've been hanging out with these people for so long. I've never admitted that I'm a member. Is it too late to like say like, and I think like, if you're looking for new friends, that's great. Like, just, it's getting in the habit of like not being afraid to admit that you're a
Yeah.
member. Like it might start with like not being afraid to admit. And then
Yeah.
once you practice down the line, it's like you'll proudly
Yes.
shout from the rooftops
Right.
that you're a member, but we
That's
don't
right.
all start there.
No.
Well, thank you. That was like,
Yeah.
it's so refreshing to hear. Not that I thought you were going to get on and be like shaming, like you should have said this,
Yeah.
but like it's so nice to hear from
Yes.
members, like just the reminder of the grace that we have.
Totally.
So I love
Totally.
that.
We do.
What's up, everybody? Sorry to interrupt. Thank you so much for tuning into the Third Hour podcast. We love talking about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and it's because of y'all that we're able to make videos. If you haven't subscribed already, what are you doing? Smash that subscribe button right now. We have tons of cool videos coming out this summer, I promise you. Now let's get back to the video.
That's why I love the temple. Do you think Satan's distractions are his strategy?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, and he's so clever, as we know.
Yes.
He's not like an idiot.
Yeah.
He's smart. And so his distractions are like good, like funny, fun, interesting, right?
Right.
It's like, but they're still distractions.
Uh-huh.
And so if you like, when you distract yourself from the peace and quiet, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I go to the temple and sit in the celestial room, like there is no better place. I feel like my tunnel, my like, you know, what do you call it? Like whatever it is between me and God is clear.
Yes.
It's not as like muddied as when I'm praying anywhere
Yes.
else.
Oh, I
And so
love
I feel like
praying
I
in the
sit there
celestial
and I'm
room.
like, okay, like things are coming. Like I just want to sit there as long as I
Yes.
can, because it's like you don't have the ding or hey mom, you know, or everything
Right.
around you, like the alerts and so I just think that is why one of the other reasons it's like God knows what we need. He's like, come to
Yeah.
my house where it's quiet and you can feel my spirit. And I really do
Yeah.
feel like it's so amazing and so much more needed. You think of like President Nelson, like dotting the earth even more with temples. Like why?
Right.
It's because we need it more now.
Okay, and so that reminds me of another thing I wanted to ask you about, because I know you've done a post about this.
Yeah.
But you've kind of talked about like a religious resurgence
Yes.
among Gen Z and young people.
Yes. And I think it actually relates to Chosen too. No one knows why Gen Z is coming back to faith, but I do think the Chosen and some other things like that have really kind of pushed people towards faith, right? People that never had been interested, and all of a sudden there's this hit show that they like and they're kind of more interested in faith. But between 2022 and 2023, 6% of Gen Z came back to faith. They went from religious nuns to faithful. That's huge. That's
Really?
significant. It is the TikTok generation. It's the Instagram generation
Yeah.
that are seeing this. It's like my friend Ollie in the UK who's seeing from social media other options than what he's seeing around him. Like his parents don't go to church, his friends don't go to church, but he's now interested, like, should I go to church? Right. And so I think these people are seeing this, and people are finding faith in a time where we've just had a lot of darkness, right? 2020 was dark, 2021 was
Yeah.
dark. And now I think people are wanting an alternative. They've seen like the detriments that can happen when you're just alone and isolated and you're just on your phone, and I think people are wanting something more. And so that's what's exciting to me. It's like people are looking for churches. They're looking for faith. They're looking for Jesus. And to me, I'm like, yes, let's go.
What's like your initial thought, like when I say Mormon ads, like what comes to
Oh my gosh. They're like gotchas. Like, ooh, like
Yeah.
they were so powerful.
Yes, I have a bunch, so we're just gonna kind of scroll.
If you showed me,
through.
I'd be like, oh yeah.
This one.
Oh, I love
Make
that. Oh,
your
that's so
own
good.
fortune. What you make of life isn't up to chance. It's up to you. Let the gospel guide you and your one smart
Oh,
cookie.
that's so good. I love that. I've never actually seen that one. That's so good.
I know. I like this. I feel
So
like they should
good.
remake this
They
with like
should.
horoscope. This one I remember
this one's so
specifically.
good.
The gossip.
It's so good. Gossip, don't pass it on.
on.
It's so good. Because imagine if that happened every time you gossiped. Wouldn't that be great?
Right.
Like I should do this with my primary class. I've been through enough where I have seen people talk badly about people that like other people I respect and love, and it feels sad. And I've also heard of people speaking about me badly, and so now I've been at one of those people. It's like if I have a friend and someone's speaking badly about them, like I want their name to be safe with me, and I want to be one
Right.
that says, you know what, like I'm friends with this person that you're talking about, and I really admire her for these reasons, and it really does shut it down so quick.
Look at this one.
Wow. With too many things to do, you find yourself in a jam. Try a smaller slice of life. Interesting.
Good.
Wow.
So in conclusion, we need to bring these back. The
We
Mormon
need
ads.
to bring these back.
Like these are so fun.
Came to the US when I was 7. I didn't speak any English. And you might look at me now and think, well, she dresses normal and kind of seems to fit in, but I really didn't fit in as a kid. And I remember my sister and I sitting down together after school and sharing notes on what we learned about how to be an American. So one thing is, you don't wear the same clothes every day. So we would kind of swap the clothes that we had so that one of us could wear one outfit and the other could wear the other, so we wouldn't be made fun of for wearing the same clothes. And one of the things that always sticks out to me in thinking about my experience growing up is the people that really impacted our lives and took care of us as the one out of the 99. The people in our wards that would invite us over when it was awkward to invite us over because we didn't speak English as good as the other children. We didn't dress as cute as the other children. We didn't have bikes to ride bikes with them. I'm so grateful that people decided to choose us out of the pack, to love us.
That was such a beautiful message and so beautifully executed in sharing your story and everything. But what advice do you have for people at church who are like, well, I would be friends with them, but they're just kind of different. It's easier to be friends with people who are just like us.
We all have to go back to that moment, because I'm sure there's been moments in all of our lives where we were the awkward one, where we didn't fit in, where we were the only person at this camp or this school or whatever. And somebody came and like held our hand and was like, hey, come, and like just recognizing that we've all been there.
Yeah.
I think that helps me. And I think like you look at my life now, it's like, I don't look like I don't fit in, right? I do fit in now, more or less. But I didn't for a long time. Mm-hmm. And so now it's like, if anybody, right, should see those people, it should be me. And I think too, as people that are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, like we as a people have not fit in America. Right.
Yeah.
We have been discriminated against, kind of tarred, feathered, killed. I mean, all of these things, like if we can't take that admonition to be like him and reach out to the one, I think we're losing it. And I think part of how do we do this? I think we remind ourselves about him, like remind ourselves what he did. What does Christ do? It's like he picks every child up and blesses all of them, surrounds them all by angels. Like every single person that asks Christ to be healed in the Gospels is healed. He heals all the people in the Americas too, every single one. It's like, bring your deaf, your lame, your blind, I will heal them. And so it's like, those are the, the awkward ones, the physically disabled ones, the ones that are not fitting in. That's what Christ, it's uncomfortable. That's what Jesus wants us to be.
Yes.
It's uncomfortable.
I think about my life, right? And the things I accomplished. And I remember early getting married and I thought, okay, I need to like do all these things. I had this bucket list for my career. I was like, I want to do this, I want to do that. And as I kind of knock some of those things off, and I look at my career now after 20 years, I'm like, what has really been the greatest joy in the last 20 years? It's like none of my books. Mm-hmm. It's any one of my kids, right? Mm-hmm. All 5 of them. And I know that you say that a lot.
Amen, sister. Yeah.
Which, yes, you have an Emmy, but you have your kids. And what matters more?
It's the top resume line. And I think most women would say that. And you don't have to choose is the thing.
No,
and
that's
celebrate both.
That's right.
But that's the legacy I want. It's just like to raise my kids and see what they accomplish. Yeah. The joy I'll have in seeing like what good they can do. And that's the legacy that I'll leave, right? All of us.
So beautiful.
We have the opportunity, yeah.
And I love like this theme that we've kind of come to with this episode of like, we don't even realize the impact that we can have on others.
Yes.
And like from our positive example, from our courage or from our like taking someone in or having our children, it's like we can make such a bigger impact than we even think about. And
absolutely. I'm just so in awe of your generation. And I think like Gen Z, millennials, I think there's just so much good there. There's so much light and acceptance and love. And then you have, this kind of added kind of discipleship that I see you have and so many others like you. And I'm so in awe. I go and I teach students, in your generation all the time. And I'm so in awe of them. And I'm so in awe of you, of just like your faith, despite all the opposition. It's just, as my parents told me, I'll tell you, like it's gotten worse. It's gotten a lot worse. It's gotten a lot harder to be faithful. And the fact that you are, and that you're trying to figure out your testimony, trying to figure out your faith, I just think it's so incredible. I'm so in awe of you.
Oh my gosh, I can't thank you enough for all your kind words, and honestly just like the hope that you give. Like I feel like our generation just gets trashed
I know,
honestly.
and that's why I don't love that.
So it's so nice to hear like the positives, and I agree with you. Like I feel like Gen Z is so resilient resilient. So thank you for that.
And
coming
also
from
rethinking some of the millennial stuff. Like you guys are going to change the world. I already seeing it. It's amazing. I think Gen Z's. I love Gen Z.
Oh my gosh!
I'm not an anti-Gen Z.
Not a hater.
Not
yes,
a hater of Gen
thank
Z.
you. you.
Yeah, I love you guys. You're going to be great.
No, we appreciate you so much for coming on and for
Thank
this
you.
conversation. And we can't wait to hear your thoughts. So leave your thoughts in the comments.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me. You're amazing. Seriously.